Something I needed to say today that I think a lot of people don't understand, the missing context in American culture right now. I'm going to explain something to you that might make you feel a little uncomfortable. I am a CSA survivor myself, and the reason that a lot of people are not really freaking out about the Jeffrey Epstein thing is because they do think it's acceptable for teenagers to be married and having sex. They really do. I can give you an example from my own family. I often talk about how my stepmother was 16 years old when she was married to my father. I'm originally from Arkansas. And forgive my hair today. It's in pin curls. It's going to come down in a minute. But my stepmother was horribly abused. And the reason nobody stopped my father from marrying her, and the reason this was so acceptable at that time in the mid-90s and early 2000s, is because my Granny Joe, his mother, her mom, Grandma Alice, the woman I'm named after, my great-great-grandma, the woman who raised Granny Joe, was a child bride. And this was completely normal for them. And so you have to remember, the boomers basically watch the world change, and they don't know how to handle it. They don't talk about problems when problems arrive. They hide problems and they don't address them. And something I did notice was that the abuse of children is so normalized because it was normal to them. Let me explain. So when my father married my stepmother, what occurred in my Granny Joe's mind was not to protect this teenage child. What she thought, and this is what a lot of boomers and a lot of even Gen X people think, what she thought was, well, my mother was 12 when she got married. So this is just how it is. Men are just like this. This is just how men are. And it's been this way since the dawn of time. And so she dismissed it. And this is why you see people like Megyn Kelly talking about in very uncomfortable tones, because even she can feel in her instinct that it's not quite fucking right. You see people like Megyn Kelly making a distinction between 5-year-olds and 15-year-olds, and trying to act like that is not pedophilia when it is pedophilia, right? We know this. And the thing is, they really do think that's normal. My great-grandmother was a child bride. She was married at 12 years old. And my Granny Joe got married late. And she was married in her early 20s. Late by our standards in Arkansas, right? And so something a lot of people do not understand is that a lot of boomers will never admit this to you out loud because they don't want to be called a pedophile. They don't want to be called a monster. They don't want people to look at them like, oh, fucking, what the fuck is wrong with you, right? They don't like that because the one thing the boomer fears most of all is social shame and social ostracization, because that would often result in their destruction and their ruin. Think the single mother who's basically abandoned by the entire community and left to starve to death in a rural small town. And they will just laugh at her and talk about it and laugh and enjoy watching her die. I've seen this happen. And so you have this situation where in the Ozark Mountains, in rural parts of the United States, period, point positive, period, you have a lot of people who think pedophilia is normal. They think it's okay. They think it's acceptable. But they know consciously in their brain that other people don't agree. So they pretend that they're not okay with it. But they are constantly testing the waters, and they will not protect children when the time comes to protect them, And it is a very fucking sad thing. My stepmother did not deserve the beatings that she got. Yes, I say beatings. I don't want to speak too much about what she went through, but I'm just telling you what I saw as a kid going through that. And I I don't want to speak too much about her story because it's her business, right? But I watched a 16-year-old woman get beaten. Okay? And I sit back and I see how people are like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? It's actually because your elders think it's normal, but they are embarrassed to admit it because they still need to rely on social structures to survive, right? Like we still need people to like us, to drive us places when we're disabled and take us places. And these people are getting old and they see that their own children have turned against their fuck-ass values and things are changing in a more positive way where children need rights. People are actually advocating for children to have rights, which is a good thing. Children should have some form of defense in America, right? But it's just so fascinating to me because I've met so many elderly people, especially women, who think it's fine. And like if I were to talk to my Granny Joe, she would say, well, this is just how men are. What are you going to do about it? This is how they are. There's no changing it. They're just this way, you know? And mind you, Grandpa Marvin cheated on her and, you know, tried to leave her for a younger woman and leave her penniless and broke. She had to threaten his life and his reputation, keyword reputation, just to get him to not abandon her financially. So boomers really rely on reputation and all this. And so you have to remember, Epstein, he is a boomer. He's a boomer. Okay, and child marriage is legal in 34 out of 50 US states because of boomers and Gen Xers. And this is a fact. Their parents were their mothers were child brides. My Granny Joe was a boomer. Her mother was a child bride. That is why boomers don't defend children. That's why boomer women hate children. Because children were used to trap them. Children are used for sex slavery. Child brides are sex slaves. This is what you really need to get into your head. Being a wife is sex work. It is. And what I saw in that house has followed me all my fucking life. Okay? And what you need to understand is the grandma you love. I love Granny Joe. But she never protected us against our pedophile father because that's just how men are. Well, maybe she was right. But if she was right, that means those men need to be... You know what I'm saying? And so when you're talking to older people and you're like, where's their wisdom about the Epstein files? They actually are okay with this. You understand? Where I'm from, the elders quit voting Republican because the Republicans took away slavery. So they began voting Democrat, not because they agreed with the policies, but they just wanted to get revenge on the Republicans. And they did that since the Civil War, since the Emancipation Proclamation. They have been voting Democrat, not because they actually are, but because they want to punish the Republicans for taking away their slaves. And who replaced the slaves? Children and women. Because after the Emancipation Proclamation, women and children could not own property, and we could not have bank accounts nor credit in our names. And so we were the next set of slaves to replace that missing spot. You know what I mean? And so while it does make me uncomfortable saying this, you might want to look into your family tree. You'd be surprised how many child brides are just two people back. Like, again, my grandma was a boomer. Her mother was a 12-year-old child bride. Okay? And before that, child bride. And before that, child bride. And before that, we're not really entirely sure, but it looks like they were the same age. You know? And so this is why pedophilia is so acceptable in America. This is why child marriage is legal in 34 out of 50 US states. And when you talk to a boomer about it, they just go... They don't really answer. They just give you a weird look because they don't know what to say. They're ashamed of what has been normalized, but they don't know what to say because they think it's okay. And they don't just want to say that out loud because they need you to survive. They need your resources. They need your youth. They need your power. They need your labor. The day of the pillow cannot come sooner, okay?